So there was an altercation at the Miller's residence there. Obviously, is dictated in the reports there. I have petitioned for a protection order on both parties due to that altercation that you have the information on there. Wife and I went out for Valentine's dinner like we always do. Heading back, we were going to stop by and see our grandkids there. Reached out to who we thought had the children at the time. Did not. That was Mr. Miller there. He let me know that the children were at the house there. Go ahead and feel free to, like we always would, just swing by there. At the time of the visit there, do like I always do, knock on the door, listen for the response behind the door, open up the door. Needless to say, it was ended up being an altercation there, which we have multiple files going on with your court right now on that. But with the assault that was done in the house and outside the house there is what caused us to put the protection orders in place there on that. Also, the aggressiveness of the situation with Mr. Gill while I was on the phone with 911 at the same time there on dispatch. The aggressiveness chases down the driveway there. While officers were pulling in. At the same time, the aggression from Miss Miller towards our vehicle while we were sitting in our vehicle with an officer right there present. I do have that police report, and I believe I provided that to you there, stipulating that. I have left multiple phone calls for that particular officer and the supervisor to give us a call back, but we haven't heard back from them yet on that. Over the last couple of years, the aggressiveness from Miss Miller towards my wife has gotten pretty verbal on that aspects there. So there hasn't been much contact between the two of them there. But Miss Miller and I have kept a reasonable relationship because of our her kids, my grandkids. They mean the world to me. So I've always tried to keep that open line there on that level. There's been multiple conversations and threats and things like that that would keep the kids from coming and spending time at our house there on that. Used as more of a pawn than allowing the children to spend time with their grandparents there. Right now, since we've started this particular situation, we have had vandalism towards my wife's vehicle there, which is in the police report that Chehalis Police Department has taken there with the pictures and the documentation of the vehicle that was seen on the video cameras at the residence and in the police report that's stated there. I feel right now the protection order should stay in place there on that because we are worried with the fact that, you know, the sudden vandalism just to her particular vehicle there at our residence there is made it very alarming, and we ended up having to notify our neighbors of the situation there. Everybody on our street has now got cameras up there. We also have installed more around our property to make sure that we're safe at all times. there has been a lot of aggression that has come forth.
So if I could stop you, so you've mentioned a couple of times a lot of aggression, multiple instances, things like that. So apart from the Valentine's Day incident at the home, do either of you have examples, dates, things like that, as far as what that sort of aggressive behavior is you're referencing?
It's been phone call conversations between myself and Miss Miller that have gotten very verbal over the phone there. Also multiple conversations between Miss Miller and my wife, Trisha Miller, or Trisha Cuffing. And those have gotten pretty heated there.
And in those conversations, have there been, again, I know you all were here earlier, express direction to Miss Miller to not contact you anymore?
No, we haven't done that. Miss Miller has been, her and my wife have kind of split that ways. That way they don't really contact each other at all there. Myself and Miss Miller keep in contact for the kids' sake there, going to birthday parties, family functions, things like that. On that note, Miss Miller just with the tension between her and my wife, she doesn't come over to our house. Normally it's the father, Mr. Miller, that brings the children over to the house.
Okay. One phrase in the petition was that Miss Miller has threatened to cause bodily harm multiple times. Are you able to go into any more detail about those?
Those were conversations that she and my wife had on multiple occasions there.
Okay. So
she'll have to speak on that.
Yeah. Would you like to speak about those?
Specific dates. This has been kind of an ongoing thing between me and Miss Miller throughout the years. Anytime she gets upset with me, the threats would come. I'm an immigrant, so she would threaten to have me deported, or, it would become verbally abusive over the phone, and had threatened me a few times over the years.
When you say threaten, what do you mean?
That she was going to kick my ass if she ever saw me.
And you don't have to give me dates and times and things like that. Are you able to give me a kind of a rough estimate of the timeline we're talking about? This has been the last few weeks.
No.
I know you said over the course of years,
Yeah.
But can you think of some of the more recent times where maybe those interactions have taken place?
Well, the most recent was Valentine's Day, when she got out of her car and came at me, and my husband asked me to roll the window up. I had my window down because I had been talking with an officer. When he saw her go to get out of the car, he said, roll your window up. And sure enough, as I was rolling my window up, she punched the driver's side window. So had I not listened, she would have gotten me.
Were you the driver?
Yes.
And so I'm clear on what you're asking for, because it sounds like, Mr. Coffeen, are you wanting there to be any continued communication between yourself and Miss Miller? None at all. So as far as discussions about your grandkids, her children, anything like that?
It hurts.
Yeah. Okay.
It hurts having the distance with my grandkids. But I think as far as of right now, I don't think that there's needs to be any communication between Miss Miller, myself, or my wife at all. As hard as that is to say, yeah, I think it's in best interest for us. I believe it's in best interest of Miss Miller as well. Probably in best interest of my grandbabies.
I have, I believe, one more question for the two of you, and then I'll turn it over to you, Ms. Miller. Mr. Coffeen, you referenced a vehicle being vandalized. I believe it's been referenced in your petition too. I'm trying to pull it up. Let's see. I don't have the police reports from Chehalis, as you said. Yes. You know, if it was filed in Chehalis, you know, we don't have access to that necessarily. Oh, here it is. So I've got your declaration though. When you indicated this was February 17th, sounds like your 4Runner was vandalized. And I understand you're saying it was the only car on the street that appeared to have been vandalized. Do you have any, and I'm not asking, this isn't a criminal investigation.
No, they have
curious, do you
pictures
have
as
any, not of the car, as far as your conclusion that it was Miss Miller who did it?
Yes, what I submitted to the court here. Also, I submitted to the sheriff's department down. Actually, I believe I just did it to the sheriff's department. He wanted me to bring them in there. It shows the pictures of the vehicle on the camera. It also shows the vehicle parked in Mr. Gill's driveway as well.
Maybe I missed this, but
yeah, there's multiple pictures. I might have duplicates too if you need them.
Is it the pictures? So we've got two pictures of looks like a walkway.
The white car that's in the background. Or which pictures? I'm not sure which ones you're referring to.
These might be pictures that were sent by Miss Miller. If you've got them there, I can.
I was going to say, I'm sure I've got duplicates of everything. My other concern, Your Honor, is that there seems to be a way that Miss Miller and Mr. Gill are able to reach information. We have an inside source that well, they've already been submitted these pictures. I had 2 copies. Chehalis has one, and then your sheriff's department got it as well. Or not the sheriff's department, your clerk out here right out in front of building or office 2, courtroom 2. Yeah, you guys have both. You have a copy and Chehalis has a copy. But between the vandalism there and the aspects that the vehicle was punched right in front of officer there at the scene there, malicious mischief definitely comes into play there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. But I have your declaration about the car and everything like that. Okay. So we've addressed the car, the incident on Valentine's Day, some of the more kind of ongoing conversations between the two of you and Miss Miller. Before I turn it over to Miss Miller, anything else you'd like to let me know? I'll as you saw before, I'll turn it back to you likely at the end with some follow-up questions as well. But anything for now before I turn it over? Okay. Okay. So Ms. Miller, if you could please raise your right hand. All right. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to provide is the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
Okay. So go ahead. You'll have a chance to respond.
So I don't want to go too much into the weeds considering you've been able to read everything, but on the night of Valentine's Day, I was supposed to be taking my son to my soon-to-be ex-husband's house because we no longer reside together and haven't for months. At the time that I left, I received a phone call from my oldest daughter screaming and crying, saying that her grandfather was fighting with Mr. Gill in my living room and that her papa had come in, walked through the door, did not get the door opened for him. He did not knock. He walked in. Mr. Gill was standing in the kitchen with, there was 5 kids here that day. Rightfully so, Mr. Gill stopped Tim and asked him who he was. Tim refused to say who he was, and this was verified by all of the children that were in the home. And Tim proceeded to proceed with aggression. Mr. Gill did what he thought he was right and tried to get Tim out of the house. And I guess the altercation happened with them. Mind you, I am not home. I'm just on the Ring camera and on the phone. I opened up my Ring camera to Mr. Coffeen and Mrs. Coffeen standing in my front like walkway, them screaming at Mr. Gill. Gill's telling them, you need to leave, get off the property. I was screaming through the Ring camera for them to leave because at this point, I don't know what's going on, why there's someone at my house when I didn't tell anybody they could come in. And then you just walked into my home and put my children at risk. So he was told he needed to leave by both of us. In the midst of all of it, there was, as you can see in the court record, that there was a gun in the home. It is not my gun. I don't own guns. I don't like guns. Everyone who knows me knows I don't do guns. Rightfully so, Mr. Gill had a right to protect himself and the children, which is what he did. When I got here, Tim and Trish were sitting up within their vehicle, kind of like at the entranceway of into our cul-de-sac. When I pulled up, I put my vehicle in park, and I did. I started yelling at them, asking them, what are you doing? Why are you fighting in my house? What is going on? Trish proceeded at that point to open up her vehicle door, get out of the vehicle, standing halfway in, halfway out, calling me a whore and a home wrecker and all this other stuff. So there was a verbal altercation there with both of us. As she came towards me, I came closer at her. There was contact with the window. No, it was not a fist. It was an open hand. At this point, the officer that in one of the reports even stated he came in up to the scene, noticed that we were visually arguing with each other. He watched Tim get out of the vehicle and was instructed to get back into the vehicle. So they were not in there the entire time, as stated. There was absolutely verbal disagreement and aggression between all 3 of us. I was upset my kids were placed in harm's way, which is, I feel, is highly unacceptable. But then you also came into my home where you're not invited into and tried to take my children. And that was the basis of all of it. When
Ms.
you
Miller-
go back, yeah,
No, no. All right, so
go ahead.
we'll use you, right? You're talking to me, right? So,
Yeah.
so when you're saying you came into my home and things like that, right? You're
No, I
telling
meant
me
like
what
when he
happened,
came into my home.
right? So keep it like that. Keep it in a kind of in a narrative form, not,
Okay.
not talk. All right, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So, he had come into my home after speaking with the officers and going through the reports and speaking with my children's father. It was determined that Tim took it upon himself to show up at my home. And there's conflicting reports with all 3 of the statements from the officers on why he was here to begin with. Come to find out, my kids' father is the one who asked him to come inside and grab the kids, is what's on record. However, the kids' father is now denying that and saying that Tim took it upon himself to enter my home. So with the conflicting information of everything that went on that night, I messaged Tim on the 17th, so the night he's claiming there was vandalism, and let him know, because my children were placed in harm's way, I think it's best right now that my children do not go around them. I mean, I'm a mom, I'm a nurse, my kids come first. That's all there is to that. And because of the fact that he loves his children, his grandchildren so much, then the whole thing with the retaliation of vandalism occurred. So in the records, you can see I uploaded the day that I was at work that night that he claims the vandalism occurred, when I left my home, when I returned home the next morning. I worked 12-hour shifts, as well as my time clock showing I was at work. But I also want to state too that that occurred apparently in Lewis County, not Thurston. So I'm not too sure why it's in this petition, because it's not something you guys would necessarily have jurisdiction over. But that's kind of where that went. ever since then, I have not talked to him. I never even sent that message directly to him. I sent it to my children's father because they're in contact. I didn't want to have any contact with him. Still don't. Still have no intent to go around him or his wife. He is correct in saying there has been verbal altercations between her and I, but never in a million years would I threaten harm on my family, regardless at the end of the day of how I feel. So I feel like all of this stemmed out of retaliation after the report came out saying that Jaskarn did what he should have and acted in self-defense. And because of that, the case was closed. And as Tim's referring to us getting records, it's all public. And I don't think he quite understands that. Everything you upload is public. You can see it on the civil courts documents. So it's very easy to get that information. That's the only reason I knew I had a court date today, because he failed to have me served.
Thank you. All right,
Mhm.
Ms. Miller, thank you. All right. So the pictures that are uploaded for you looks like from February 17th and 18th, one leaving, one coming. So those are of you, you're saying coming and going from work?
Correct. I leave for work at 6 p.m. and I don't
Okay.
get home until about 8:30 the next morning because I usually take my kids to school. But that day, my son had an appointment in Seattle. So I picked them up, came home to get them ready, and then turned around and had to leave again.
And you, where do you live?
I live in rural Thurston County. So Thurston County sheriffs are the ones that had responded. And that's who I had to contact to figure out where my paperwork was because I hadn't been served. And I was notified that Tim intentionally, this was from Thurston County Sheriff's, Tim, I guess, intentionally took my documents to Olympia Police Department in hopes that they would serve me because my job is in Olympia Department, like their county. But I talked to OPD as well, who stated they have zero jurisdiction and I would not be being served because the proper documentation is not there.
And the incident here, okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. We don't have any pictures of the car. So it sounds like you brought something. Is it pictures of the car having been vandalized?
There's quite a few variations here in this story that she just presented. First off, we were told to take the paperwork to the Olympia Police Department, so they did have that.
Okay, so we're not going to
that,
deal with service.
but-
I know, but listen, we're not going the issues with service and all of that. I'm not going to get into. She has actual notice. She's here, so we're not going to go down that path.
Okay.
So we're not going to go down there. Because we don't have access to anything in Chehalis. So what is it as far as the car being vandalized?
The car that she refers to is not her car, so all of that is irrelevant.
Right, no,
The
but
car,
you said
the
that
car that was vandalized was my wife's
Right.
vehicle. It was not her car. It was Mr. Gill's car, and those are the pictures that were brought into this clerk here, and also put into the Chehalis police department there when we made the report, because we
Okay.
caught him on the camera.
Okay,
It was not Miss Miller's car. It
so
was
this
Mr. Gill's car. And that's why it strictly shows in the pictures that car with him in the picture.
So is it the SUV or the Toyota 4Runner that's alleged to have been
The
violated?
4Runner.
Okay. And Miss Miller, what are you saying? That's
No, I'm just saying, like, I haven't seen photos of this alleged vehicle. My kids' father was told it was silly string on the vehicle, so I don't know what the vehicle looks like or what's going on. And I would like to know, I don't know if it's possible to know where this vehicle was even parked because Mr. Gill doesn't live around here, nor does he drive a white vehicle.
right, but it's okay. I
So
think
I'm not too sure why this is in my thing.
Well, I think what the Coffeens are claiming is that their vehicle, this 4Runner that is theirs, was vandalized, and they're claiming that you vandalized it.
Correct.
No,
No, is that not right?
not her, not her.
She did it, but somebody, she sent someone.
Okay, and what evidence do you have of
The
that?
car that was shown on the camera that we took was also the same car that because originally serving Mr. Gill
Mhm.
there, the Puyallup Police Department is the ones that sent me up to that address there. Find out if this vehicle is there, drive 3 blocks away, call them so they could serve him. That was the reason I went to that address. I learned on social media that particular car that was on my video camera there was the exact same vehicle that he's showing in the photos that everybody has there with him in the picture right next to the same car. So
While it's
they-
vandalized, like around the time it was
So we
vandalized?
have the first photo that has the vehicle there.
Mhm.
We have the second picture that shows the vandalism that was done.
Mhm.
The third picture is the one that shows the exact same car in Mr. Gill's driveway with him standing in the picture with his daughter.
Okay, but that's.
It had
Mr.
nothing
but
to do
that's-
with Miss Miller whatsoever,
Okay, all right,
as far as her car.
all right.
I can't, because of the fact that they purposely turned the lights off going down the road right after they did it, there was the only other reason we couldn't see who the driver was.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to try to narrow this down a bit. All right, so first of all, with respect to the evening of the February 14th. All right. Sorry, I'm flipping back and forth between some of the notes I took for
Yeah,
the
there's a lot. Sorry.
Gill matter. It's okay. All right.
I received a concussion and now I have hearing loss
Right. No, I understand.
during all this.
Yeah,
as
and that's
well.
all in the Gill packet.
Yeah.
All right, so with respect to so Tim Coffeen and Miss Miller. All right, so the basis of asking for a protection order between the two of you, it sounds like, are the incident on the 14th February and it sounds like you've had conversations over the years that have been heated. You've never been told not to contact each other, but those sort of escalating arguments on the phone, what happened on February 14th, there's allegations about how a car got vandalized. Are those kind of the main arguments for wanting that protection order?
Yes, and the fact that she has told multiple people that she wishes I was dead will be something I will always have to remember on that case there. For her
And where did that come from?
right out of her mouth,
Okay.
over the phone.
But how did you learn about that? That she told you
told
that,
me.
that she wishes you were dead?
There while I was fighting cancer.
Okay.
So that there, allowing and thinking that it's okay that she wasn't there, so she did not witness what happened there on the night of the 14th there.
Right, and we're not going to get into
Yeah,
the
I don't
fight
want to get
between the
into
two
all
of
that.
you.
So
Right,
I'm just saying that
Right.
there was a lot of discrepancies there
right.
as far as that goes, and she should know.
Okay.
But it is,
And
he
then,
said, she said, so.
okay, all right, thank you, Mr. Coffeen. And then with respect to Miss Miller and Trisha Coffeen, it sounds like the basis there is a bit of a longer period of conversations in which, and this is where I might turn back to you, Miss Miller. You heard Trisha Coffeen there say that there's been some threats over the years where there's been, threats of bodily harm, threatens to kick her ass. I think I heard reference to, deportation, things of that nature. I'll let you respond to that specifically because, as we were all here earlier, one thing that I have to suss out is whether there's some sort of pattern of behavior, over a course of time. And so that one with respect to Trisha Coffeen, I wanted to know a little bit more about. So you heard her side of things. I'll let you respond to that. So talk about your conversations with her over the years.
So over the years, initially, her and I did start off with a rocky relationship. She was someone that regardless of how they met online, there was a big altercation with our family as far as verbal goes between myself, our grandmother, which is my dad's mother, and my dad, just based on allegations that she was coming here for a green card and this and that. So that's the part that she's referring to. As far as deportation goes, to my knowledge, she was here legally. and has a green card and has since my sister also came to the States. So I don't know where she's getting any of the whole deportation aspect of anything. Our relationship over the years, it has been rocky. There's times where we do get along and we get along great. And we're your mother-daughter relationship, and she's great with my kids. And then there's other times where she's not. And we're arguing with each other about how my dad feels he can't see the kids. And that's where a lot of it, that animosity stems from is you have to respect the parents of the children. Otherwise, I'm not giving you access to my children. And he may call that upon or whatever it may be. But my kids' mental health comes first. So I'm kind of surprised to say that they said that I would ever threaten bodily harm or even killing somebody at that point or wishing they were dead. Those are my kids' grandparents at the end of the day. And as long as you respect me, you see my kids. But I'm not going to threaten harm over you.
So
So
you're denying that you've threatened to cause
I am
her harm.
absolutely 100%.
And then Miss Caffeine, in addition to your allegations of threats of bodily harm over the phone, has there been anything in person that would indicate to you that she was serious about following? What?
Oh, we've gotten in heated face to face, like she came right in my face. Did she make contact? No.
When you say she got in your face, were there's also you're saying threats of bodily harm in those
Yeah.
instances?
Yes.
Okay.
This has been ongoing, like I said, off and on for years. And what she said is correct. We had a great relationship. But the lack of respect and her wishing her father's death, she has no family left. Everybody, because of her aggressive behavior, has left her in the dust.
Very
Unfortunate.
correct.
All right, so here's to sort of let people know where I'm at. The element here that I'm having a hard time finding, and I'll give the petitioners a chance to respond. Here is whether or not Miss Miller has had clear notice that you don't want contact with her anymore, because it is not necessarily unlawful harassment to say very hurtful things. Threatening bodily harm is different. And if someone is in reasonable fear of their safety because of things that are being said to them, that's different. So I'm going to put that aside for a second. Saying very hurtful things, telling you that, and for your benefit, I'm pointing at your father, she wishes you were dead at a time when you may have it sounds like you had cancer. Like those types of things, if said, are extremely hurtful, obviously. It rises to the level of unlawful conduct that requires the courts to get involved. When someone is making comments like that, knowing it's causing substantial emotional distress, and they, after being told to stop, continue to do so. Right? That's what we're looking for as far as harassment because of communication, not those initial things that are really hurtful, and then you go to court and you get an order asking them to stop doing that. The court order comes after they've been told to stop and they keep doing it. That's when the courts become involved. And so the piece that I'm sort of missing here is when Miss Miller was sort of on notice from you that, and I say you, I say both of you, but again, I'm kind of putting the threats of bodily harm to the side for a moment. When she was giving notice from you that you didn't want contact with her anymore, especially because it sounds like while things have been very rocky, to say the least, there's been some communication for the sake of the kids and the grandkids, at least, to see each other. But at this point, especially after the Valentine's Day incident, it sounds like the situation may have changed where folks don't want contact with each other anymore. And so what I think I'm hearing is, by and large, at this point, everyone, sounds like, is sort of in agreement that they don't want to talk to each other anymore and they don't want any further communication. And at this point, I'm hearing some pretty clear communication to me that communication is no longer welcome. I don't know if I heard that before, though, moving up to this point. But I'll let you, it's your petition. So I'll let you respond to that. If you can point to, some interaction where, you let her know this is no longer appropriate. I feel that this is harassment, emotional distress, and I don't want to hear from you anymore.
I did.
Okay, go ahead.
I had a conversation in my kitchen when I'd put my foot down a few months back. I had enough. The verbal abuse that I was getting, I'm pulling your grandkids away from you. You're not going to ever see your grandkids again. After I got my oldest granddaughter into, actually, my wife actually got her into horseback riding lessons there. We ended up getting in a major argument on the phone, and because of her aggressive nature, she always has to get the last word in. She doesn't talk reasonable like normal people there. On that, I told her I was done. Do not contact me again. I blocked her on social media. I blocked her phone number there. That do not, I'm done. I'm putting my foot down because my wife had been standing up for the way she had talked to me and treated me over for a long period of time, causing issues between us because I would always stand up for her there, which caused issues here. And I finally, at that point, I was like, I'm done. I'm enough there. And as far as showing extra history there, now it doesn't pertain to this case, but giving you a little bit of a lowdown on the background aspect there is Miss Miller has had a deferment charge on a assault with her next door neighbor there at her residence. So she does have an issue with anger management aspects there. I think a lot of it is due to not staying on her medications there. I've always felt that when she's on it, she's good. She's stable. She's just like you and I talking. But when she's not, it's just not good there. And it causes issues with everybody. That's why right now, nobody in the family on my side wants anything to do, because we never know what part of Miss Miller we're going to see or get there. And unfortunately, in your situation, is that now you have to decide how to deal with it, because now we have aggression going on, and now I have to deal with it because now I don't get to see my grandkids.
Right. And so, well, and thank you for that extra context. And the thing that I keep going back to for February 14th is, not separate from the, the incident between you and Mr. Gill. Even if there was, expression to Miss Miller that you didn't want to see them, talk to her anymore, that you were, like you said, I'm done. And you may have, after talking to Mr. Miller, felt that you had a right to go to the house. And I'm not weighing in. Yeah. And I'm not weighing into that one way or the other. But what I'm saying is, clearly, though, it was in your mind, and it may have been reasonable, felt that you could still go to where Miss Miller lived, right, to see the kids. So and I'm bringing that up to say that, what that tells me is there may have been a conversation where, you say, I'm done, this isn't all of that. But following up, at least on Valentine's Day, you went to her house. And so what that communicates to me is that there may not have been a clear break, if you're at her house with her kids, in your mind, again, I'm not saying reasonable or unreasonable, just that whether or not you felt that there was a clear break where you wanted nothing to do with her and you didn't want to see her anymore. That might not have been as clear as evidenced by the fact that you were in her home with her kids and she may have been there, right? You're looking confused. So I bring that up to say, what I'm looking for is evidence that Miss Miller was on very clear notice that you didn't want anything to do with her anymore. And what I'm saying is, it sounds like you said a couple of months ago, at least, you had a conversation where you said, I don't want anything to do with you. Mm-hmm. But then what I'm also looking at is on February 14th, you were at her house, right?
At her and her husband, my son-in-law's house.
But her house too, right? But her house too,
right?
And so what that tells me is that may not have been as clean a break, as what we're talking about here, right? Because she could have been there. They were her kids, right? And so to me, that's not necessarily, that's evidence that there may not have been a clear expression of, I don't want communication with you anymore, right? Because then you were at her house on February 14th. So that's what I'm saying as far as that goes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think where I'm coming to, I think, is, there's a date at which it's become very clear that the two of you don't want any more communication with her, right? And that's that Valentine's Day incident that involved Mr. Gill, but also Miss Miller. And looking through the record, it seems to me like that's kind of this flashpoint in the relationship where it is now clear that the two of you don't want any communication with her, even regarding the kids, anything like that. And it seems like Miss Miller at this point is on very clear notice about that. I don't know if that clarity came through up until that Valentine's Day incident, though. Enough for the courts to get involved and issue court orders, if that makes sense. But the carve out I want to return to, though, is specifically with regard to Trisha Coffeen and Stacy Miller, because that kind of clear notice, that's always still a factor. If somebody is threatening bodily injury to somebody, it's not like you then have to tell them to stop and wait for them to do it again, right, to go to court. So that is a different situation. So I'm not talking, so I want to return to that here. And I've got your testimony here and I've got her testimony, and you're saying it happened, and I'm sorry, Ms. Coffeen is saying it happened, and Ms. Miller saying that it didn't happen. And so, that when it's that situation, you've got what's called the burden of proof, which I went through earlier, which is it has to be more likely than not that it happened. And so it's sort of when it's both sides are telling me completely opposite things, the court needs something else to get over that burden to say, yes, this happened. And so now the courts can get involved. Is there anything you can show me that, again, not proof beyond a reasonable doubt, because this isn't a crime, but more likely than not that there were threats of bodily harm?
Well, I can show you the police report from the officer that was wearing body cam.
Okay, and this is what's in the...
To what she stated, that I was out of my vehicle. Not true. I was in my vehicle, had been the whole time. The only time I got out of my car that night was when I had to get Mr. Gill away from my husband before he killed him.
Right. What I'm looking at, and Miss Miller, have you seen the police report from the February?
I have.
14th?
I've read all of them. Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's just, I'm going to take a look at that again now.
Yep.
So I have the police report in the Gill file ends on page 2, and it's clearly not finished. And then it goes to a series of pictures.
Should be looking at ID number, oh, that's his Officer Deputy Heisung report that I submitted.
Yes.
On the bottom part, it tells you the incident at the Forerunner
Yeah.
there, where she approached the Forerunner and punched the window.
Yeah, so here, yes. So I've got that in front of me. So it's, let's see. After getting the male detained, I aired that we had another disturbance and request more units. I ran down the road towards the white Forerunner and another white SUV. I believe the Coffeens are in the Forerunner, Miller's in the SUV. I observed a female get out of the white SUV and walk up to the Forerunner while screaming and hitting the window. I observed Timothy get out of the Forerunner, began yelling at the female of the white SUV. I ordered Timothy to get back into his vehicle. I made contact with the female. Female stated that Timothy in the Forerunner is her father, and then it kind of goes into talking about what happened. Right. Yeah. All right. So go ahead.
Had I not told her to roll the window up, she would have hit her right in front of Officer Heisung. I mean, right in front of him.
Yeah. So, right. I understand. What I also understand, though, about this police report is, this seems to have been an exceptionally volatile situation where there's a lot of yelling and obviously it looks like you were bleeding.
All over the
You
place.
know, I've looked at those pictures and, you know, so I'm also sort of cognizant of the environment in which this happened. And it sounds like at least according to the police report, you know, Timothy's out of the car, Stacy's out of the car, they're screaming at each other, Stacy's hitting the window of the car. So, and it sounds like what I'm looking at for here is this being a part of a pattern of threats of physical violence specifically to Trisha. So that's what I'm looking for here. And so it sounds like the part of the evidence you're providing here that this has been there's kind of been ongoing threats to Trisha specifically is kind of what happened here on Valentine's Day. All right, so so I understand what you're saying here. All right. So I'll give everyone kind of the last words here before before I kind of make my ruling. Ms. Miller, I haven't turned to you for a while, so I'll let you kind of make some final comments.
I don't really have any other final comments other than you're correct in saying I don't want any contact with either one of them. And they can feel how they feel about that. The only thing I worry about is my children and their mental health, and that's what's going to come first. And that means keeping them away from people who put them in harm's way.
All right. So. And Tim and Trisha, go ahead.
Yeah, as far as the kids being out of harm's way, she never had a problem dropping them off, leaving them for days. So that I'm not buying. But I have since this, I have cut Stacy out of my life probably 3 years. I've stayed away from her. Anytime I've picked the kids up, I sit out in my car. I don't even go to the door. Had no use. I have since had to add extra cameras around my house, so I feel safe. I'm looking behind my back because I don't trust her. She's unstable and will blow a fuse quick. And literally it's been home and work. That's my life. I want to know that when I go out in public, I have some sort of protection.
Anything from you, Tim?
To put for her to sit there and say that I would ever let anything come in the way with those kids is mind-blowing. Those kids there, I've raised those kids since they were babies. When she was working, her husband was working. I was the one that helped them learn to walk, learn their ABCs, went to school functions, picked them up at school, took them to different things, got them into sports, got them into different things there. There was nothing that I would ever allow to come in the distance. If you ask any one of those three kids, even the 3-year-old, I've always told him, Papa will never let anything happen to you. For her to allow somebody to come in.
I'm going to just stop you just because I understand that is a very emotionally charged subject. And it's hard to separate what's going on here with that. I understand that. Specifically what I'm looking for is, why do you feel a protection order protecting you from Miss Miller is necessary here? That's what I'm looking for.
Because well, for 2 reasons. One, the company that she keeps is not safe for me. As you've seen the pictures, is not safe for me.
But that's against Mr.
Okay.
Gill. What about her?
Her, I don't know what she's going to do at this point. She has so far went to the right that I don't even know my own daughter anymore. I can't trust what she says, what she might do, what she might not do. I fear for the safety of her kids, my grandkids, on a day-to-day basis. I know she loves them dearly. I do. But I fear for what they go through.
But again, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. So I think the last question I have is I really want to come back to something that, Tricia, you're saying that you feel that your safety is in jeopardy. And so I really want to hone in and make sure I'm not missing anything. I've got the police report from February 14th, right? I think I understand what the allegations are. I understand it's not clear exactly, but I understand what's being alleged here. And I understand that the two of you have had some really heated conversations where you're saying that she has, threatened to cause you physical harm.
Yes.
Are those the two things that kind of are resulting in you putting up cameras and looking behind your shoulder and asking for a protection order? Is that the crux of it?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
And I've since installed the dash cam in my Forerunner as well that records 24/7.
Thank you. All right, there's a few documents in the court file I'm gonna just review, take a few minutes here. So to the extent I'm kind of quiet and read around, I'm going through the petition again and reviewing some documents here. So just everyone's patience here is appreciated. All right, thank you for everyone's patience. I understand the volatility of the situation, so I wanted to make sure, I've read everything and fully understand it as best as I can. And, at this point, I'm going to deny the orders. And I want to explain myself, explain why. I don't feel that there's enough in the record for the courts to get involved at this point. With respect to, Tim Coffeen, I think that, I think with everyone here, it sounds like going forward, this Valentine's Day incident, I think was clear communication to everyone that contact is no longer wanted, Ms. Miller, you're the respondent here. So, this is mostly directed to you, that, the issue is notice that somebody doesn't want contact with someone else. It seems pretty clear with them having come to court and gone through all of this, that they don't want contact from you anymore. I understand there may have been conversations in the past where, Tim, it sounds like you've told her as such. Again, the thing I'm struggling with is that the Valentine's Day incident happened at her home. And so that tells me that it may just not have been that clean of a break between the two of you, at least up to that point, right? Now there has been. And so, going forward, there might be incidences where the courts can get involved if there's continued contact, because at this point, I think that's very clear. Tricia, it sounds like what you're telling me, it's a much closer call, to be honest. Where I'm coming at is, you're telling me that there's been, verbal threats, over the years. And as evidenced of that, this police report from Valentine's Day. And the thing that I'm struggling with there a little bit is, again, I think the location of the incident matters in my mind. The fact that it occurred at Miss Miller's home. I'm not saying you didn't have permission. I'm not saying you didn't have permission to be there. What I'm saying is arguments by you guys that that you felt in fear of your safety around her. That's going up against the fact that it sounds like you went to her house to see the grandkids where she lived. Again, thinking you may have thought you had permission. I'm not saying you didn't. But what I'm saying is that's relevant to me in that if you're going to her house to see the grandkids, that kind of militates against thinking that you're in fear of your safety such that a protection order is required. And so, that's why that Valentine's Day incident and its location has such relevance to me, because by you being at her house, that tells me that there may have been a lot of volatility in your relationship. But you did go to her home. And so that tells me that it wasn't maybe yet at the point where contact between the two of you would result in a protection order. I think now that's obviously changed, right? Police got involved. You guys have filed for a protection order. Like, that situation has now changed. But it's hard for me to get around the fact that less than a month ago you were at her house seeing the kids. And so that's, to me, the most salient point here, and the reason why the orders are being denied. Because up until this point, I'm not seeing a basis for for issuing the order on the grounds that, you know, contact was clearly communicated. It was clearly communicated. You didn't want contact with her, and you felt in fear of your safety to be around her. Just being at her home on February 14th, I think, just militates against that. So that's the reason for the denial today. But again, obviously the situation has now changed, and if there's continuing contact going forward, and this is different than we have another hearing in 2 weeks for Mr. Gill. I understand it's a different situation. But at least with respect to Ms. Miller, I don't see enough at this point to believe more likely than not that there's a grounds for the courts getting involved at this point. So I'm gonna deny the order.
Let's go.
I understand that's not the
Yeah,
outcome
this
you'd
is,
like.
this is the problem with the court system here.
It's okay.
You know,
It's okay.
it really is, because it takes somebody dying in Thurston County because I've done more footwork than anybody else up here. I've done the one doing law enforcement. I'm the one that's getting paperwork from one office to another there. I'm the one that's going out and working every day. I'm the one that's supporting the law enforcement here. But yet you guys turn around and leave somebody kids in an endangered home there with a loose gun there
So, Mr. Miller,
and allow
sorry.
that to happen
So,
and
yeah.
an assault.
Okay.
That is enough.
Yeah, so listen, or yeah, I'm
It's
sorry,
time to
Mr.
go.
Yeah,
Get
so
your
that's
stuff, let's
the
go.
decision. I understand you're frustrated. The things you're being frustrated, you're still not talking about how you feel endangered by your daughter though. So I just want to make sure we're focused on what's at issue here, which is how you feel endangered by your daughter. That's different than the kids, right? That's different than Mr. Gill.
And my
look,
wife?
Yeah.
Well,
I think
apparently it doesn't matter. She
Well,
can do whatever she
No,
wants.
but there's nothing before the court.
Because I've let it go for years. So now I'm put in a position where if I run into her in public, I have to take it into my own hands. Because that's what
I mean,
I've
it
been
happened
taught.
right in front of a police officer and nothing was done.
She purposely came at me. He was in the passenger seat.
Yeah,
She came to attack me, and we were a block away from her house.
Right.
yeah.
Right, I know.
So
that
it's not acceptable, period.
Right, and we've gone over that, right? And so I understand you're frustrated, and this isn't the result you want. That is the decision of the
Okay,
court
I'm
with
gonna
respect to
press
the two of
charges
you
next.
and your daughter.
We're leaving Washington. I was hoping this would at least buy us some time before we move. But obviously, we're again left on our own.
I'll be following charges anyway.
Can I have it placed on record that they are not to go around my children, my home, or my workplace?
No, that's
order.
not the point of, this hearing, ma'am. So
Okay.
no, yes.
That's fine. I can do it a different way. That's fine.
Thank you. You're free to go, Ms. Miller.
Thank you.